Do you speak that highly of Charles's golf swing?
You know, I don't comment. You know, that's embarrassing. It's really disgraceful that, you know, he can take a game of leisure and relaxation and make it a lot of work.
That was cruel.
Oh, boy, don't ask me about his golf game. Man, oh, man.
He always played to win. He always put the team above himself.
No doubt in my mind, if I played in the NBA today, I have to go to the game of the spaceship. Yes, why? They pay some of these steals money, man.
I thought the officiating was terrible today.
From beginning to end?
From beginning to end.
I got a mental block.
What is the mental block?
I suck at golf.
Chicken finger, chicken wing, chicken breast, fried chicken, barbecue chicken, all types of chicken.
Hey, but I got to tell you, the first time he dunked on me was in college. I'm like, this little fella, who's this little fat guy? He can't play.
He threw it away. Barkley with a great anticipation. Look at the big guy move. Bingo and a foul.
But when I first saw Charles, I looked at and he dunked him. And I looked at this guy like, how can this big guy put all his weight in the air?
He goes up, boom. I'm like, hey, he's pretty good.
in the Georgia-Auburn Auburn rivalry.
America, it's either A, get dunked on, B, get a finger or arm broken, or smile on camera. That's it.
What was it like, truthfully, playing against Charles Barkley?
One moment that I can pick with Charles, we were playing Philly in the playoffs. And I guess I got into a hot rhythm, and I had about 40-some points. And Charles was yelling. I can hear him yelling in the huddle. So I'm like, who's going to guard this guy? Somebody's got to guard this guy. That's all right. I guard this guy. So I go, and then we're playing, and we got into a switch. And Charles jumps out and guards me. And yeah, I never known Charles as a defensive stopper. So the first thing he does, he breaks down in this defensive position with hands up. Everything looks technically right. And I just laugh. I say, when in the hell are you going to start playing defense? And who taught you how to get in a defensive stance? And I had to pass it. But that's the type of guy. He would take on a challenge, even though he was not up to the challenge. He didn't care. And that's just him.
Because are trying to get out and break now, but the wrong people are shooting. I wouldn't want Fisher necessarily to take that shot that fast.
Oh, and there's a swing by O'Neal. And they got a blue.
A real fighter throws the first punch. I'm not going to walk up to you and let y'all slug me in my jaw first. I got to hit y'all first.
Speaking of which,
1999. Let's think about a real fighter. Chuck. All I want to wait. We said what you say? The winning guys win.
Well, the guy on the top is the winner. No, bro, I'm on top. You ever see him win a fight? Shaq can't fight a lick. I hit him in that big old gut. Because I can't reach his big old head. So I hit him in the gut, and then it'll bring him down. And then when he come down, I clock him. A lot of people don't know that Charles' mother and my mother were best friends.
Oh, yeah.
So the day me and Charles got into an altercation, the phone rings. It was an Alabama number, and his mom, don't you put your hands on my baby.
You need to stop fussing at each other and get a grip and behave.
And then my mom called, what y'all doing out there fighting? This would happen. You can slow down if you want to. I wanted to show the left to my man, so when he went for the left, I wanted to hit him with the right, but somebody grabbed me. But when he got me down on the ground, he didn't do nothing, so I knew we wasn't even really sick. But check us out, after that fight, we both got in trouble.
I love this angle of it right here, Shaq. I love this angle.
Yeah, see, the left.
Hey, you know this set them up for
and number 5 grabbed my arm.
Holy, get him, Catino.
Catino
hit him.
Look at this. The left. See?
Oh.
See how I just showed?
That's called Bobby Weaver.
That was just a little Ali. You know, some people like jump all out the way. I just like subtle.
Let's do it in slow-mo. How was it?
Everybody always had the same question. How much of an ass is Charles Barkley?
Hey, Jack, when am I going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated for this stuff? I should be on the Dream Team cover.
And then every time you'd go spend time with him, you know, you'd just realize that he was the most enjoyable act, not only in all of sports, but possibly in all of pop culture.
Sometimes I dream that he is me. I just want to be like Chuck. Mike. Pretty good way to go out, winning a gold medal and playing with, well, I can't say the best team ever assembled, but one of the best teams ever assembled. The cast of characters, the different personalities than Charles Barkley. But We had a lot of fun.
They're like, we don't want you guys out and about because we don't know how safe it is. And I'm like, dude, I'm at the Olympics. I'm not gonna stay in my room the whole time.
We could be inside the hotel. Soon we heard the big roar. Ha! We said, there go Charles. So Charles would be walking, and then thousands would be following him everywhere he went, you know. He was the Pied Piper.
Charles would go over to the village and like find the Angolan players and hang out along the Ramblas at night. He was the most memorable person of the 1992 Olympics.
I just saw this touch he had. I don't think anybody else in the world could have done it besides Charles Barkley. At the end of the day, he was America's best ambassador.
How did you feel in 1972 when the Soviet Union beat the United States in that wild game?
Well, I had just flunked my entrance exam in the kindergarten, so that was the only thing,
You know, everybody that has ever been in front of a camera, we tend to not say certain things.
Why don't they just take their ass whipping like people and go home?
Barkley says things that we would think about and never say.
We're gonna have a little revenge in our hearts for 72 and 88. David, he can't say that because he's a Christian, but
And when Charles was asked about the team's first opponent, his prediction was as honest as ever.
I don't know anything about Angola, but Angola's in trouble, I think.
He was definitely our MVP during that Olympic run. And still today, you sit there and watch him and say, how did a man his size be able to do the things that he did?
I thought they were playing dirty. And I told old boy, I don't even know if he understood, but I said, hey man, ease up on the elbow.
Barkley from Pippen.
I let it go twice.
You can see the frustration with Barkley.
And the next time, I just cracked it.
Barkley from Pippen. And a technical foul has been called on Barkley.
I thought, what are you doing, Charles? The guy is half your size. But, you know, Charles was an equal opportunity abuser.
That's the same guy that just asked you for an autograph, Charles. I mean, you think he's not intimidated?
They were throwing elbows as well, so Charles being a competitor, he's going to throw an elbow back.
I asked him whether that was in keeping with the Olympic ideal, and he said, hey, it's the ideal of the playground. This is the way you play.
I said to Michael, why don't you have a talk with Charles? You know, get him calmed down a little bit. He said, we've tried, it's your turn.
But we're going back to the regular season of 1997 because when I think Minnesota-Houston, I think one game in particular, the Rockets with Charles Barkley leading at Target Center. And Chris Carr went to the free throw line.
And Barkley's at the line giving him what for. And he better be careful because he can get a taunting foul. And that would hurt.
You said something to him on the free throw line. What'd you say to him? Well, I told him you couldn't get a pin up his ass with a jackhammer. He was a little tight on that one. Damn. For the net, that wouldn't have hit anything.
He's a great kid. Wow. They can't get a pin up your with a jackhammer right there.
He was so short with that one. And to see your reaction on the foul.
Ernie and I were doing that game.
Yeah. We were
in the studio. I miss Chris Carr. He was a great kid. But, man, his sphincter was so tight.
Charles's first year was quite an experience. Charles would act up. Charles wouldn't run back to half court. Charles was very difficult, to say the least.
When I walked in that locker room the first day, I was on cloud nine. But also, I couldn't decide, should I call him Dr. J, Mr. Erving, or what?
With Moses and myself, I mean, I think he really looked up to us because we were already established.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing that most people don't understand, the biggest influence in my basketball career has been Moses Malone. And I pulled Moses aside, and I said, Moses, why am I not getting to play? And Moses, you know, he's really brutal. He said, you fat and you lazy, young fellow. You fat and you lazy. I'm like, oh, I'm fat and I'm lazy. He said, you need to lose some weight. He says, you want to work hard, I'll help you, Big Mo will help you.
You could see that Charles wanted to be great, but he didn't want to work at it. So I said, Charles, you know, things you got to do, it's not going to come easy because Right now, you into pro ball, you got a lot of great athletes. So what you got to do, get the attitude and get mean and get aggressive and come play every night.
And he was great. And I think at that time I was like 290. He says, I want you to lose 10 pounds. So I lose 10 pounds, I'm 280. He said, I want you to get to 270 now. I get to 270. And now I'm like, okay, you can tell I'm in shape now and I'm getting to play. He says, get to 260. At this point, I'm starting really to kick some butt. I'm starting to play well. You can play, obviously, extended periods of time. And he says, I want you to get to 250. I'm really rolling right now. And then he said, get to 240. He said, I want to experiment. And I got to 240, but I didn't feel strong and explosive. He says, no, 250. 250 is your weight. And that's what I played my entire career at.
And it was a lot of yes, sir, no, sir, whatever. It quickly changed from get out my way.
Right.
Move, bitch, get out the way. But he does recall and recount those years that we played together. And we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. And watching him develop and watching him become a dominant force was a joy.
You know, every player that's sitting here that was considered that have done that. Every player that, in the past have done that. Wait, time out. Like, man, you gotta get this dude some dodos over there.
I was trying to get you.
He's tired, man.
We were having our discussion on LeBron James. And, Charles, what's going on here?
I'm tired, man.
Whoops.
Nice. Hey, how's your manicure, Chuck?
Watch the lids.
He about to wake up and agree with you, though. He about to wake up and agree. What's this?
I didn't know what was going on.
My agent says, hey, we need to talk about this 76ers situation. I said, what's the situation? He says, they have a hard cap in the NBA, and you're going to have to get the minimum, 1 year, $75,000. I said, I didn't leave college for $75,000.
I think you weighed 284 pounds before the 76ers drafted you. And they wanted
to 300.
Okay, and they wanted you to at least, I heard, get down to 275 before the draft. You end up getting down to 272 pounds, and then what happens?
So I said, well, we got to make sure the Sixers don't draft me down. So we went on a 2-day eating binge. We got up the first morning, I had 6 pancakes, bacon, wash it down with a vanilla shake. Then we went to lunch. I think I had 4 or 5 pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken, some mashed potatoes, some coleslaw. Then we went to dinner someplace. I had a T-bone steak, had a baked potato. And then next day did the exact same thing. So we fly to Philly. I get on the scale. I'm 302. I'm 302. And Harold Cass cursing me.
That's the owner of the 76ers.
Yeah, you fat, lazy, blah, blah, blah. Just get out of here. Get out of here. And we take the train up to New York. And I got to tell you something. If people take a good look at the tape, and when they said with the number 5 pick, the 76ers take Charles Barkley, the look on my face is, are you kidding me?
In the 1984 draft, Philadelphia selected him number 5.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Charles Barkley of Auburn University.
You weren't smiling.
I wasn't smiling because I was I left college for $75,000. And I remember telling my agent, I said, oh my God. But in fairness to the Sixers, they ended up trading 2 guys. They traded 2 guys, and my first contract was 4 years, $2 million. So I'm off and running then.
Barkley is Barkley. I don't think he's 6'3". He was just one of those rare players that size didn't matter. It was just determination.
Rebound Barkley. He battles, he shoots, he scores. Sir Charles.
Charles Barkley is probably one of the greatest power forwards of all time, for sure, because of his skill set. He was still able to dominate inside the paint. His rebounding is second to none. I mean, this guy was just a beast on the boards. To be only 6'7" or so and be able to snag 20 rebounds and, you know, on a nightly basis seemed like was incredible.
Charles was a different kind of competitor. He wanted to destroy you. I mean, he was a fun guy and he's super off the floor, a great guy to be around, but such a competitor on the floor, and there was nothing that he couldn't do on the basketball court.
Here's the lob for Barkley, goes up and jams! Oh, beautiful alley-oop for Sir Charles.
He could get on the roll when the team's down, and he can create a 10-0 run by himself.
And we knew we had a superstar. And not only a superstar, we had a person who could sway the officials one way or the other by his aggressiveness, by his physicality, and that was unheard of besides Karl Malone in the Western Conference.
He was so genuine, he'd give you the shirt off his back, great teammate, cared about winning more than anybody I've ever played with as far as when the game started, hated to practice, was the worst practice player in the world.
Charles Barkley took me under his wing, which I wish he didn't. I remember going to my first practice with Charles Barkley, who didn't practice, who never practiced. In 2 years, he practiced twice. He used to come in, Brad, and get on the stationary bike and ride 1 mile an hour. And he'd be eating it, and he'd be like, y'all run the floor. And he'd be pedaling 1 mile an hour, and we'd be running up and down practice, and he's just sitting on the side. That's why we ain't gonna never be shit, because you guys don't run the floor. Man, practice harder. That pancakes be spitting out.
That's the truth. You know, when I got to Philadelphia, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Maurice Cheeks, they never practice. They sit on the side on the stationary bike eating McDonald's. So once I had been in the league X amount of years, I adopted that philosophy. I had played 48 minutes the night before. I wasn't going to get up the next morning to go to practice. And I always go with the Egg McMuffins and the hot cakes and sausage, too. That's the best breakfast you can get.
And then after practice, I'm dead tired, and I'll say, well, man, what do we do now? We got to go, and I'm thinking like study hall or something. You go, that's it, man. 2 hours. We see you tomorrow. I'm like, that's all? And he's like, where you want to go? You want to go to the bar? And I was like, what? And I had all this free time on my hand, and I hung out with Charles, and they had to get rid of both of us in Philadelphia.
I just hated when a guy thought he could guard me, to be honest with you. I'm like, dude, please, just work hard, but you can't stop me.
But we never really had that chip. We never really had the confidence to think that we can go past the Western Conference Finals and even get into the finals. And I think that's what Charles brought to us.
Trade was made, dust settled, and we were a better team with Chuck. I mean, we really were. I mean, this guy would go out and do what he needed to do to get you a win. I mean, he scored, he rebounded, he'd stand back and block shots, and he carried the load. He really did.
Because Ernie has all the notes, and he has everything in order. And Charles is new.
Will we be doing a game break?
He's like, what's those? I'm like, those is notes. He just keeps them there to make sure everything's in order.
It's the format for the post-game show with a couple of notes written in it, so we're going to go from here to here to here to here to here.
And I realized he didn't know what it was and how important it was. And I egged him. I said, I bet you wouldn't take those from Ernie. And he's like, I won't even take them. I'll rip them up. And so now I go, oh, he definitely don't know how important these are. And so now Ernie hears us. He says, Charles, don't play.
Don't even think about it.
Don't think about it. This is don't do it. So I was like, well, you're not gonna really. I thought he was gonna do one of these, then fake it. So Charles takes it and he rips it up, right?
He was mad.
Oh no, wait. You know, Ernie, God bless, is the most Christian man I know. That shit wasn't funny. And he didn't speak to us the rest of the show. And the first time I was scared. I was like, Ernie's might swing on me, because he was like, you started it because you gave him the notes. I was like, I started doing this.
And so I just froze him out of the next segment. He came back, because I was ready to. I had a cup of coffee. I was ready to throw a cup of coffee in his face. I was
the first time I heard him curse.
I was hot, man.
Because internally, I was just crying because I had never heard him curse.
I won't ever do that again.
No. You know, because you know what that did to me in that moment? It was that these guys don't respect what I do. That's what that said to me. I've been working on this, on this show. No, I've been working on this show.
The Lakers are the biggest here. Is it true you almost played for the Lakers? You were almost
Yeah, you
sent
know,
to the
I actually
Lakers?
I got traded to the Lakers. So I get a call from my agent one morning. It's one of my last years in Philly. I got a call from my agent first thing in the morning. He says, we think the Sixers and the Lakers have a deal. And he says, I think we got a deal. You're going to the Lakers. So me and two of my boys, this is about 11:30 during the day. And I was so excited. And he says, I said, the deal done? He says, yes, the deal is done. So me and my boys went out to celebrate. We started getting drunk in the middle of the day. I was so excited. And then about 3 hours later, I get a call from my agent saying the Sixers backed out of the deal. My agent calls me back about 3 hours later. He said the Sixers pulled out the deal. And we got a game that night. I don't remember anything about that game. And Mike, I tell you what, I have never drank before a game before, but that's the only time I've ever did it in my life. I don't even remember the game. I don't even know if I played good or bad or who we played. First of all, I was so pissed, but I was so drunk, too. I have no idea what happened that game.
You don't know your stats? Did you?
I do not even remember the game, actually. Hey, some of them teams I played on, I needed to drink.
Oh, my goodness.
I was playing with some bums in Philly.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Charles was interesting. Really a dear friend of mine still today. I love him to death, and I owe a lot of my success, I think, in the NBA to Charles. Charles was the kind of player that exude confidence. He knew he was a good player, and he demonstrated that every night. And there a couple of true story is we're playing against the Detroit Pistons, and they have Isaiah and Joe Dumars, and this is when Dennis Rodman was on the Pistons as well, and they have Bill Laimbeer, and I have an awful first half, like I'm scoreless, I have 0 points, and coming out the second half, Charles literally grabs me by my collar, by my jersey, and grabs me sort of close to him, and then, I can't say exactly what he says, but it's more like, get your crap together. You're too good to be, scoring 0 points and, out there playing like, so I'm like, holy crap, what's going on? And, that alone to say, I had a great second half, but he had faith in me and the confidence that, he knew he was the number one player on the team, and he was like, you're number two. I need you to go out there and score and be my number two. And he made sure every night that I was prepared and ready to play. So I owe a lot to Charles.
Okay, we lose Game 6 in Seattle. So I called Frank Johnson, who's one of my good friends on the team. What can I do to get this team pumped up for Game 7? He says to me, we're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. We're going to win Game 7. I said, how do you know that? He says, you've never been to the finals. You never been to the finals, right? I said, no. He says, you just got to play the best basketball game of your life. And he said, we'll follow. Okay, but I said, I got to get the rest of the team. He said, just go and just BS with them. Just make them laugh, have fun with them, but all the pressure's on your back. He said, you won MVP. You never been to the finals. You got Game 7 at home. You just got to play the best basketball game you ever played.
Barkley just won't be denied. And grabbed at midcourt by Barkley. Here's Charles. Level! Serves Charles with a steal and a wham, bam, slam.
First of all, Game 7's...
but when he tells you, look, not only do we have a Game 7, you have to have the best game of your life.
First of all, as a star, you always feel pressure, because the one thing about a star, you're going to get the blame. So you automatically feel that pressure. I knew that from my days in Philly. That was my first year in Phoenix. I got MVP. And so I was ready for the game, but I was trying to just get the team. I said, guys, let's go. We're good.
When we needed him the most, he came through. So to have a game like that in Game 7, to propel us to the championship, to have 44 points and 24. I mean, and like I said, you're talking about a guy who's 6'4", 6'5". I mean, it's just amazing. Just shows you what type of player he is and how great a player he was.
In games like that, I mean, don't even try and go get a rebound. I mean, don't even try and go get a rebound, because he's going to knock you down and throw his out. Yeah, you probably get elbowed by Charles.
It's over. The Suns win. The Suns win. They're the Western Conference champions, and they move on to play the defending world champion Chicago Bulls for all the marbles.